Hi, I'm Mega from Couple of Expats, and in today's video, we are talking about being a freelancer in Finland. Welcome back to our channel. If you've been here, we talk about studying, working, and living in Finland. Today's episode is going to be a great one because we have a very special guest joining us. We have Nichole Starkman from Americana Cakes, who will be sharing her very own personal entrepreneur story, as well as giving tips to future entrepreneurs who are watching this video. So, let's go. Hi, Nichole, and welcome to Couple of Expats.
Hello, thanks for having me.
We're so happy to have you here and to share your advice to current and future entrepreneurs and those who want to take the path of being freelancers in Finland. So yes, if you could please introduce yourself to our audience and tell us a little bit about your business.
Sure. My name is Nichole Starkman. I am the owner and baker at Americana Cakes and Sweets here in Turku. I'm originally from Minnesota in the US, and I've been here for just over 9 years in Finland. Like a lot of people, I came here for love. So I met my partner in US while we were both studying there and then came back to Finland. So that's how I ended up here.
So let's take a walk down memory lane. How did you get started? How did your entrepreneurial journey start?
So my background is actually in marketing, and like a lot of people that move here, I could not find a job in my field. My Finnish is a little bit rusty, so I was thinking of other options, and I was making cakes just sort of as a hobby, and I started posting them on my Instagram page and Facebook, and people started asking if they could order them. And I never really thought about doing it as a business before, but once I had some interest, then I thought, like, maybe I can do this. And that's sort of how it all started. So it wasn't really anything that I ever planned to do, but it just sort of happened, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most beautiful when something comes your way that you weren't expecting. And
for sure. And something that I really loved to do as a hobby, but never really thought I could make a business out of. So it's really nice to be able to do something that I love to do as well.
Yeah, and you're one of the very few people who are actually living the dream of turning out hobby into... that you'd never work a day in your life?
Yeah. For sure. I think I work some days. But it doesn't always feel like work. And I would 100% rather work for myself than for anyone else. So this is perfect for me, for sure.
So the reason we're all here today, tips for future aspiring entrepreneurs. Nichole, do you have any words of advice?
I do. So my first tip would be that you will never feel ready. I think that's the biggest trap that aspiring entrepreneurs fall into, is they think there will be some perfect time, some magical, perfect situation or financial place that you will be in where it will feel like now is the perfect time to do it. And for most people, that just is never going to be the case. So if you are wanting to start a business, I think that you just have to kind of take the leap, because if you wait for it to be the right time, you might never actually do it. So
the perfect time does not exist.
It does not exist, yes.
So create your own perfect time. It might not be perfect, but do it anyway.
Exactly, yes. So
what's next?
My next tip would be find a community. I think that's really important, especially for me as a solopreneur, sole entrepreneur, whatever you want to call it, and also an immigrant here. It's really important to build a community because entrepreneurship can be really lonely. I don't have colleagues that I work with, so it's really nice to be able to interact and socialize with other people that are going through similar situations as I am. Even if it's not the same industry, we all kind of know what it's like to live here and to be an entrepreneur. So for example, I am in a local group, which you are also in as well, of Turku entrepreneurs. And it's just been a really nice way to sort of have that support and to have that sort of socialization of people that are doing the same thing. Because, it can get lonely, and it's nice to be able to have people that you can ask for advice or just to vent to, because sometimes, especially things like bureaucracy, are not always fun to navigate on your own. So definitely build a community, because it will help a lot to just get through everything. So yeah.
And I think one of the best things about community is that you will always find someone who's a few years ahead of you, and a few years maybe, and you're ahead of someone else.
Right.
And it goes around.
Right.
And
sure.
you don't have to be the only one.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. It's really nice to be able to get advice from people who are maybe a little bit further and have been through the same things that you're dealing with. But it's also super rewarding to be able to mentor other people who are maybe not as far into their entrepreneurship journey. And that for me is something that I really love to do too, is to help give advice to other people who are just starting. So yeah. And then my third tip would be, you don't have to be everything for everyone. I think a lot of entrepreneurs, especially when they're starting out, try to do too much. And I think it's really important to find your niche and stick with that. So for me, for example, I do American style sweets. But it has definitely been tempting at times when I get people asking if they can order like the Finnish voileipäkaku or other Finnish things. They're things that I can make, but that's not really part of my my niche. And so I think the biggest thing is to try to really figure out what you do well and perfect that, and not try to have, something for everyone, because you will find your clients and you will find your customers that are looking for what you have to offer. But if you start to offer too many things, it gets confusing for people. And also, I think you can't really perfect a lot of things. So it's good to focus on just, what you're really good at and what your niche is within your business.
Yeah, and I think also it helps from a brand's identity point of view.
For sure, yes.
Instead of saying yes to everything.
Right.
Sticking to what you know, sticking to what your brand really is, will probably help in the long run as well.
For sure, yeah.
So maybe to be a successful businesswoman, businessman or woman, you don't need to have everyone as your customer, but actually identify who you are as a business, and then that will help attract the right kind of customer.
Yeah, for sure. I think that kind of goes back to my other point where not everyone is going to be your ideal customer. You will have people that either they're not looking for what you have to offer, or they don't appreciate what you have to offer, or they can't afford what you have to offer. And that's okay. Not everyone is your ideal customer. And I think that is one thing that is really hard when you're first starting out to remember, because you're so eager to get like any sale. And I know for me, the biggest thing, and I think what a lot of entrepreneurs really struggle with, is pricing, because we just want to get those sales. And so if you hear someone say, oh, this is too expensive, or, whatever, it's really easy to second guess yourself or think that, my prices are too high. But really, it's just that is not the customer for you. Because I have had as many people who have told me my prices are too high. I have had other customers tell me that my prices are really good. So, there's a whole range of people and budgets and what people value. So I think just being confident in your product and your pricing is a really big thing. And it's so hard for so many entrepreneurs. I think from others that I've talked to, it's maybe the number one thing that's just really difficult to do, especially in the beginning. But yeah.
And I think there will always be a lot of mixed feedback. Like you said, too low, too high.
Right.
But you as the entrepreneur need to be able to know what you need to price your product so you can keep the light on, or in your case, to keep the oven on.
Right.
I mean, that's just what you need to be able to do to be a successful entrepreneur.
Exactly. And there's people that are, willing to pay hundreds of thousands for some kind of like fancy sports car, and then other people who, can't or won't pay that. So there's it's really important to remember that there is a wide variety, and not everyone is going to be the right customer for you. So
for those who are just new to their business, they have a business idea in mind, how should they know who their ideal customer should be?
Right. So I think some good questions to ask yourself are, well, when you're thinking of who is my ideal customer, you want to think of what services or what need does your business provide. So what kind of people are looking to have that need met? Then the other thing would be, if you could think of your ideal customer, what would that person be? Is it, for example, for cakes, maybe I would say that maybe women between the ages of 25 and 45 are my main customers because they're tending to buy cakes for parties. Maybe they have young children that they're looking for, to have birthday cakes for, things like that. And then according to, your prices, you think, so like, what would be the budget of this customer? And so really try to think of like, who is this filling a need for? What kind of person has the budget that would allow them to buy my product? And then how do I reach them? So for me, that would be on Instagram. I get a lot of business through that. I get a lot of business through word of mouth. I have a lot of people who order and then they tell their friends. But yeah, so just thinking about what needs you fill and who would be that person that you would be looking to fill that need for.
And how to reach them. So we're at tip number 5. Nichole, what do you suggest our audience?
So my last tip is more of an encouragement, I guess, which is basically just that you can do it. If you have the desire to be an entrepreneur, that is already a really great starting point. I think a lot of people think that you have to be some sort of special person or you have to have a degree in business. And while that certainly helps in a lot of cases, it's not necessary. I think if you have something that you're passionate about and you're willing to put in the work to learn how to make it a successful business, that's really the main thing that you need. So yeah, don't feel like, oh, I'm not a business person or I'm not an entrepreneur. Like if you're already having these ideas and thoughts, you're already, well on your way to becoming an entrepreneur. So.
Yeah, and there isn't a cutout of us, of one entrepreneur.
Right, exactly.
There are entrepreneurs of engineering background. There's somebody from marketing. There can be somebody from a language background.
For sure.
The possibilities are infinite. So
yes.
Don't wait to be a entrepreneurial person based on your background, because that's certainly not the limiting factor.
Yes, for sure. Yeah.
So it's been a while that you've been on your entrepreneurial journey, and let's jump back to present day. How has the business grown over the years?
Yeah, so I started doing this full-time basically back in 2019, in November of 2019. So as we know, right around the corner, there was a big world event, COVID. So that really put sort of a slowdown on my business because, of course, people were not having parties or big celebrations. So for a new business, it was a little bit challenging, but actually looking back now, it was sort of a blessing in disguise because I was able to really start the business kind of slowly and get a lot of my business plan in place. I was still doing smaller cakes here and there. And I think it was really good for me to be able to sort of build the business slowly rather than, right away being super busy and overwhelmed and maybe making a lot more mistakes than I did when I was able to start slowly. So, basically my first full year of being an entrepreneur was during Corona time. Mm-hmm. So after that, I didn't really have anything to compare it to. But once things started to get back to normal, my sales started to increase. And now I have a lot of customers who have become regulars from the beginning. And it's so fun. For example, I just did a cake last weekend for a couple who I originally did their wedding cakes 2 years ago. And then now I just did their first child's christening cakes. Aww. So it's super fun for me to sort of like grow my business alongside with my customers and sort of be like part of their special milestones. I have customers who, since I've been in business, have ordered their kids' birthday cakes every year, and now that has become a tradition. So, I think the biggest thing is for me, I'm gaining new customers all the time, but I'm also, most people who order from me become repeat customers, which is really amazing and super fun for me. Like I said, to sort of be sort of part of people's special moments and traditions. Yeah.
And you've also gotten into retail.
Yes. So I sell at a few of the local grocery stores around Turku. And that's also been a really good part of the business for me, branching out from just doing the custom cake orders. I guess this is another little mini tip, but it's always good to have multiple sales funnels in your business as well. So for me, I'm selling, for example, cookies and sometimes cupcakes at the grocery stores. And that is like a constant weekly income that I have, even if it's like a slow week for cakes or something like that, then I have an income stream from another source. So that's a little bonus side tip that it's good to try to also think of multiple revenue streams for you and for the business too. So
absolutely. I like the fact that you have multiple revenue streams,
right,
and also repeating revenue streams.
Yeah,
so that's
for sure.
That's good that you can have something that you can count on at the end of every week or every month.
For sure. Yeah, because being an entrepreneur is it's very different than going to a job every day and getting the same paycheck every week or month or however often you get paid, and just knowing that that's always going to be your income. So it's really important to have multiple ways of earning. So yeah, that's been really good for me to have. And especially I did start selling in the grocery stores during COVID. So that was a really good way for me to sort of make up for the lack of parties and cake sales. A lot of people were going to the grocery stores. I think grocery store sales went way up during that time. So that was a good way. So yeah, it's really good to think about the different ways that you can make other income too with the business.
So one of the most important things as an entrepreneur is to roll with the times. And from Nichole's story, we can learn that, okay, if you're not getting as many parties, then you need to branch out at the grocery store. I remember during COVID, going to the grocery store was the most exciting thing happening all week. And that's something that she utilized to her advantage. So what's in the future for Americana Cakes?
So I have a lot of things that I'm kind of in the process of getting set up now. I think I have sort of an entrepreneur brain where I never stop thinking of ideas. The main problem is having the time to do them all. But so the next thing that I want to get set up doing is like custom orders or orders for companies. So for example, a lot of companies in Finland, especially because coffee breaks are such a big thing here, like to have some sort of fresh bakery items for employees or guests to have with coffee. So that's one thing I'm working on, is a menu for that. I've been doing weddings basically since I started, but I'm working on implementing sort of a bigger wedding package, a more straightforward wedding package. So really trying to get in on that. And then I guess the third thing would be to just try to get into more stores, because like I said, that is also a really good source of income for me. And it's a way for other customers to find me. Because maybe if they don't find me on social media or just hearing about me from a friend, they might find my cookies in the store. So that's actually also a really good way for me to be able to market to people who might not normally find me. So the more stores I can get into, the more I can get in front of people and they know about my business. So
yeah. A very fun fact is that actually Nichole is the one who made our wedding cake.
Yes.
So we didn't have a proper wedding in Finland, but we had a little bit of a tiny celebration with our family, and she made a beautiful Oreo cake that was absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you. Yes. I honestly, and for me, I know this sounds like I say it all the time, but it is really so special for me to be part of people's day and to be something where it's like, you will remember that. And like, that's one of the things that I love most about my job.
Yeah.
Is just being able to, be present in people's special moments. So it was really an honor for me to do your wedding cake.
Thank you. Thank you. It was really great. Okay, so if an individual is interested in becoming an entrepreneur, are there any resources that might be available to them?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of resources available throughout Finland. It really depends on what city you live in. But Business Finland as a whole has different resources. So you can reach out to whatever the office is in your local city. And then also, for example, here in Turku, we have our entrepreneurs group. We have in-person meetings and then also a Facebook group. And we also have a group for those who are just starting out as entrepreneurs and maybe trying to figure out where to go next. And that is Finland-wide. So there's a lot of really good advice from people that you can find in those groups. But yeah, I think that Business Finland is a good place to start. And then, just asking other people that have already been on this path for a little while as well.
Okay, so for someone who is just getting started in 2024, can we learn from your mistakes? What should they do differently?
Right. Well, I think this goes back to my other tip about being confident in your pricing. That would maybe be the biggest thing that I would do differently because, like I mentioned, at first when I started, I was very self-conscious about my pricing, and I wish I had been more firm. Because also, if you get customers that are used to having or paying your lower prices, then when you need to raise your prices, it's going to be a whole thing. So I think for me, the biggest thing would be like to have, well, it's easy enough to say have confidence, but to be more confident and really stay firm on this is what I need to earn, this is what my prices need to be, and don't be so willing to bend that. So I wish that I had been a little bit more confident in that in the beginning, but yeah, that would probably be the main thing.
Yeah, but I think for people who tend to be people pleasers, this one can be a little tricky.
And that would be me. So,
and then there's the thing that where confidence comes with time, when experience.
Yes,
so I think
exactly.
Now you're experienced, and now you're able to like be more affirmative.
Yes,
your responses. But I can see how someone starting out might have this issue.
Yeah. And going back to what I said also about when you first start, you just want to like get any sale from anyone that's willing to buy from you. But sometimes that's not always good. It's hard to turn down money, but if you're essentially losing money from a sale, then that's also not great for business. So that is something to keep in mind. Yeah.
And like you said, like it's hard to increase it later on if they're used to a certain price.
Yeah, exactly.
So being an immigrant comes with a certain number of, let's say, extra challenges.
Yes.
And how have you navigated the challenges that come with being an American business owner in Finland?
Yeah, there's definitely challenges. I think, well, one of the things is sort of being able to like win over the Finnish market. People here have very specific tastes and things that they like. And so trying to get them sort of used to the things that I'm selling takes a little bit of time. One thing that helps nowadays is social media. So people see a lot of American style things on, for example, Instagram, and they think like, oh, I want that. But I have kind of customized my flavors and offerings to like a Finnish taste. I do a lot of things with fresh berries and that sort of thing. But yeah, when I first started out, I had all these ideas of different flavor combinations that just did not do well in Finland because they were just too exotic. And I have to sometimes remember that even like an American chocolate chip cookie is like a novel thing here. So yeah, kind of winning over people to something new is a challenge. And then also maybe gaining trust as a foreigner. Because there might be other companies or businesses that they're more familiar with and maybe a little bit less comfortable either speaking in English or working with an immigrant business. So it's kind of about building trust and building relationships and sort of customizing your offerings to like a Finnish customer audience.
I mean, that makes sense. At the end of the day, the business is located in Finland.
Right.
And understanding both the market, the people, and having some sort of understanding of the culture helps.
For sure, yes.
And I think a lot of it is also just trial and error.
Oh, yes. And that's in any business, regardless, too. So, yeah.
Some things work, other things don't.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. But that helps to know which way you're moving forward.
Yes.
And what to do and what to not do.
Yeah. So another challenge is obviously being in a different country, Finland, knowing how to do everything properly. I mean, you want to make sure that you're following the laws, that you're paying the proper taxes. You don't want any reason for your business to get shut down or you to get fined, and there can be a lot of bureaucracy. So that's again where talking to some sort of like Business Finland or some other person maybe in your industry is a good idea, because for me, for example, being in the food industry, it's really important that I made sure I was following all the laws that are necessary if you're selling food. So, you know, I have gone through the Turku city health department to make sure that everything is up to code. I have all the licenses and permissions to sell food, things like that, and that I'm doing all my accounting properly so that I'm paying the proper taxes, because that's definitely something that you want to get right. So that's a big thing. Just navigating how to do all that in a different country that you're maybe not familiar with what the laws are. So, yeah.
I think you do not have to wait to be perfect, but you do have to do your due diligence in knowing what your business requires and all the rules that you should be following.
Right.
Because the last thing you want to be is on the wrong side of the law.
Right. And I think it's a little bit different in each city. So the best thing to do is to try to reach out to like your city official and ask, and they can point you in the right direction of what you need to do. So for example, me being here in Turku, I spoke with the Turku health department, and then they basically guided me on everything that I needed to do and all the information that I needed to give them to be able to operate legally here. So
was it easy to find the information that you needed?
In Turku, yes. And again, I think it varies by city, so that makes it a little bit more difficult. But yeah, after I figured out like, okay, I need to talk to the health department, then it was easy. So yes. But again, that varies by city and it varies by industry, because of course, people that are not dealing with food don't have to go through the health department. So it really depends on your industry, what you need to do as well, and what kind of licenses or permissions you need to have.
So the food business can be a very competitive market out there. So what is it that you do differently to help you stand out from your competition?
Well, so as the name suggests, I do American style cakes. A lot of people ask what is the difference between Finnish and American. We tend to have a bit different sponge. They're taller, made with buttercream, things like that. And then one really big thing that is really important to me is being able to make different items for people with different sort of dietary needs. So for example, I do a lot of vegan cakes and I do gluten-free cakes. And I have custom orders from people that have certain dietary restrictions. And it's really fun for me to be able to make something really delicious for people that can't normally find a cake that they're able to eat. So that is something that I really, really take pride in being able to bring to the market here is, in addition to my regular cakes, being able to make things for people with certain food restrictions. For example, I did a birthday cake for one girl who had so many allergies, and her mom had asked me, is there any way you can make a cake without these things? And it was a very long list of things that are normally in cakes. And I said, let me try some things out and see what I can do. And I was able to make a really adorable cake for this little girl who had never been able to have a normal birthday cake before. So things like that are really fun for me to be able to do, to sort of make something special and make something delicious for people that would not normally be able to just eat a normal birthday cake or something like that. So
the best way to learn is by following in someone else's footsteps who has gone down the same path that you're interested in. And Nichole's story had lots of interesting points to learn from. So thank you so much, Nichole, for this interesting, for sharing your journey with us. Please do follow her Instagram page. And if you are in Turku, you definitely need to try her delicious cakes. If there are any other entrepreneurs who are watching this video, what point did we not discuss and what do you advise other future entrepreneurs? Let us know in the comments. What would you advise? If you have enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel about life in Finland, and see you next time.